Hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you for coming. It's wonderful to see so many people are interested in this topic, which is one that, as Carmen said, is very close to my heart. I am passionate both about reducing waste and fighting climate change. Um, I'm all about action. I'm a doer. So I really hope that my presentation inspires you to act. So, um, I'd like to start by asking all of you a question. Why do you think that waste matters to climate change? You can just start putting some answers in the chat box. Just go ahead and type in why you think that waste matters to climate change. Waste creates carbon emissions. Excellent. So making, using, and distributing products, as well as managing the resulting waste, all result in emissions. Our climate change problem is fundamentally a waste management problem. Yes, waste is in every industry. Waste creates methane. Very good. So we are basically allowing polluters to emit carbon pollution into the atmosphere, and society is paying for it. Methane gases stink. Yes, absolutely. The less stuff we produce, the less waste we have, including emissions of greenhouse gases. Reducing waste and recycling are very real and very effective ways that each of us can become climate change champions. So one way we can reduce waste is to recycle as much as possible to make sure that nothing goes in the landfill that can't be used for another purpose. Making stuff from recycled materials typically takes less energy. And there's another climate change benefit from recycling cardboard and paper. Does anybody know what that is? If you have an answer to what that other benefit from recycling cardboard and paper is in terms of climate change, put your answer in the chat. Exactly. The answer is reducing use of and recycling paper products leaves more trees on the landscape. Trees are nature's carbon capture devices. It's literally what they were designed to do by nature. The more trees we have, the better. So what's even more effective than recycling? Preventing waste in the first place. So when people choose products with less material or choose alternatives to buying, such as doing without, sharing, buying smaller, renting, swapping, less energy is needed to extract, transport, and process raw materials and to make things. For example, we can prevent waste by choosing a smaller vehicle. A shared vehicle is better than two. A used vehicle is better than a new one because the environmental debt has already been paid. And using public transit or carpooling is better than everyone driving their own vehicle to get to the same place. Obviously, that's a little dicey into the pandemic, but hopefully that will improve in the future. Cycling is even better. I read about this guy today, the guy with the unicycle. He's a construction worker in Toronto who uses a combination of public transit and a unicycle to get to work, to get to his construction job. At least he was doing this before the pandemic, which I just think rocks. And of course, the most waste-free way to get around is walking. So there are other reasons to cut waste besides benefiting climate change. Trash going into landfills is a major source of toxic chemicals and heavy metals. By reducing waste, we can help protect ourselves and our air, land, water, and wildlife from hazardous substances. Especially here in the Sioux, this is a big concern for me. We can also help keep our taxes low by extending the life of our local landfill. Our landfill here in the Sioux has less than 7 years of life left, and it could cost $30 to $40 million to build a new one. And the other thing is, when we do a poor job of managing recyclable material, it makes things harder for those who work in our recycling facility. They get very frustrated by all the non-recyclable stuff that ends up in recycle bins. So what can we do to reduce waste to help greenhouse gas emissions? Anyone want to take a guess as to what's going on in this photo? Put your answer into the chat. Anyone? Removing lids is a good guess. So what's going on in this photo is somebody is doing a home waste audit. And a home waste audit is a great place to start if you want to cut your waste, because it's easier to make decisions about how to cut waste when you know exactly what waste you're producing. So information is power. There's a lot of articles online on how to do this. You can find audit forms online. It's all laid out. So make a note and Google doing a home waste audit. I remember when I was working that this used to happen at work. They would come to our building and they would audit our waste to find out if we were recycling properly. Another key way to reduce waste is to refuse. Each item we refuse reduces demand for production of that item and the associated emissions. Refusing means we vote with our dollars. Producers listen to us. They listen to our dollars. We can refuse plastic. We can refuse poor quality items like cheap dollar store pens that don't last. We can refuse single-use items like plastic cutlery. We can refuse unnecessary packaging. We can refuse these things, and that sends a message. So how many of you are familiar with the term fast fashion? Raise your hands if you are familiar with it. And Bill, maybe you can give me an idea of how many people have raised their hands, because I can't see the hand raising. Quite a few people? Okay. Excellent.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, quite a few.
All right, you can put your hands down now. So the fashion industry, I read up on this a few weeks ago. It's one of the most polluting industries in the world. Textiles are the fourth largest cause of environmental pressure in the world after food, housing, and transport. The fashion industry is responsible for a huge share of water pollution, and it consumes more energy than shipping and aviation combined. Plus, our clothes release thousands of tons of plastic microfibers into our lakes, rivers, and oceans every year. This plastic is ending up in our food, in wildlife. It's even ending up in human placentas. And most fashion today is made cheaply because of fossil fuels. Polyester, cheap polyester clothing is king. The average person now buys 60% more clothing compared with 15 years ago and keeps each item half as long. More and more, we are treating clothing as nearly disposable. But we can say no. We can say no to fast fashion. We can buy quality clothing that lasts longer. We can buy secondhand clothing. We can do without. We can swap clothing with friends. There are many alternatives to fast fashion. But awareness is the first. That's the first step, is being aware of fast fashion. We can also line dry clothing. Line drying clothing helps it last longer. Excuse me, and it helps reduce carbon emissions from electric or gas dryers. Raise your hand if you line dry your clothing year round. I'm going to raise my hand because I do. Or you can type chat yes in the chat box, whichever you want to do. My husband very happily, I'm very grateful that my husband hung lines in our laundry room, so I can now line dry clothes year round. I haven't put my clothes in the dryer in many years. So washing clothes in cold water is a great way to reduce energy use. Your washing machine uses more hot water than your shower and your dishwasher combined. Cold water reduces shrinkage. It's better for delicate and dark colored fabrics. It's also better for polar fleece. If you wash polar fleece in cold water and line dry it, it will stay nice and soft much longer. The thing you have to remember about polar fleece is it's plastic. So if you apply a lot of heat to it, it's going to melt a little bit and get all rough. So that's a tip for not just saving energy, but also extending the life of your polar fleece. Now I understand Sometimes hot water is necessary for sanitizing. Bradley says, I always use cold. University student habit stuck with me. That's awesome. So another, next slide. Another great place to refuse is when you become eligible for a phone upgrade. The cell phone is an environmental disaster because of the elements required: gold, cobalt, lithium. Many of these are mined in developing countries under really appalling conditions. Most of us switch out our phones every 2 years, and too many people do not recycle them, which generates toxic waste and squanders materials. Do what you can to delay replacing your phone and other electronic devices. Wait till you really have to do it. My phone is up for upgrade this month, and I'm not upgrading. I have a really nice, I thought I might have to for other reasons, because I have a Huawei phone, which is a little problematic, but I bought it because it has a fantastic camera. I have no reason to give it up right now. It's working fine, so I'm gonna make it last as long as it possibly can. The other interesting thing is that I recently discovered that if the battery starts to go on your phone and you can't replace the battery for a reasonable cost, you can get a special case with a backup battery in it, which I thought was pretty neat. That can help delay the time that you need to replace the phone. And whatever you do, do not throw electronics away. Most stores that sell electronics, like Best Buy, take them back for recycling. Okay, another question for you all. You can type your answer into the chat box. What is the single largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in Sault Ste. Marie besides Algoma steel and other heavy industry? So what sector is the biggest? Oh, I like that answer, the dump. Cars and trucks. Transport, excellent. Yes. So besides industrial emissions, the second biggest one in Sault Ste. Marie is transportation. One of the most important choices we can make when it comes to climate change is our vehicle. Some people actually do need a pickup truck because they haul large loads often. But unfortunately, most of the United States and Canada has a long-standing love affair with the pickup truck. If you go to Europe, they're much less common. You see little tiny cars. People are much more frugal about their transportation. Here, the pickup truck is king, and it's really unfortunate because they are gas guzzlers. For the few times a year that most of us haul a load, you can rent a trailer for not very much money. Shrinking your ride will not only help fight climate change, it will save you money. Vehicles are not investments. It's crazy to me that people spend $40, $50, even $60,000 for a pickup truck, and you lose 30% of that the first year you own it. So consider investing in experiences rather than things. Small appliances. So type into the chat box, how many small appliances do you think you have in your household? I'm going to ask Bill, who lives in my household, if he can do a quick estimate about how many we have, because I actually didn't go count them. I'm curious to see how many small appliances people think they have, because I would imagine this group is pretty good, but I bet there are people who probably have 20 of them. Yeah, power tools. I didn't even think about that. So, especially when it comes to your kitchen, I encourage you to ponder this thought. The real estate on our kitchen counters is limited. Most of us have space for a toaster and a kettle and maybe one other appliance. If we can reduce the number of appliances we buy, we not only stop sacrificing space for big hunks of plastic and metal that may entertain us for only a few months, but we also help reduce emissions associated with producing so many appliances. And this same principle applies for space in your closet, your tool shed, your garage, and your craft room. So resist the urge to fill these spaces with rarely used specialty items, especially the electric ones. I know people love Instapots, but I have resisted getting one, especially since I'm retired. I don't need to be able to cook something quickly. I just don't need to. So Manufacturers love to convince us that it is worth replacing manual tools with electric ones, but the reality is we can often do without the electric one. Stop and think before you buy an electrified appliance and ask yourself if there's a reasonable manual alternative, especially one that's plastic free. A friend of mine on Facebook, he was recently talking about getting a new coffee maker, wanted to know which one was the best. And I said, well, I don't drink coffee, but my husband uses a French press. It doesn't break down. It doesn't have a cord. And so he got a French press. I haven't asked him if he's okay with the coffee it makes, but this is one of my personal pet peeves. I despise leaf blowers, especially gas-powered ones. Gas-powered lawn tools are a huge source of household emissions. For example, the inefficient gas engines typically used on leaf blowers, they generate large amounts of air pollution and particulate matter. And the noise they generate can lead to very serious hearing damage. I think they're a menace in pretty much every way. When my neighbors start doing the lawn blowing, I have to go inside. Between the noise and the fumes, it's too much for me. So electric or battery operated yard tools are better, but manual is the greenest. If you have a manual lawnmower, type yes into the chat box. I'd love to see how many people have a manual lawnmower. Anyone? So manual lawnmowers have come a long way. They are much better than they used to be. My husband has a Fiskars one just like this one, and he loves it. It takes up hardly any space. There's no gas, there's no cord, there's no battery, and he can hear the birds while mowing. And the best part about it is it doesn't chase me inside. And there's no noise and no fumes. So I can stay outside while I was mowing. Another great way to reduce waste is to give liquids the boot. Liquids are heavy, so shipping them results in more greenhouse gas emissions. Plus, they come in fossil fuel-based plastic bottles that will persist for hundreds of years. These products can be up to 90% water. We are paying to have water in fossil fuel-based containers shipped long distances with associated emissions. This is crazy. So what are the alternatives? There are many liquid soaps and detergents do have lower waste alternatives. There are bar forms of dish soap, shampoo, conditioner. You can replace liquid clothing and dishwasher detergent with powder. There's liquid fabric softener. You can replace that with wool dryer balls. If you're still convinced you need liquid, look for greener packaging. So this brand comes in a cardboard carton. You just have the plastic spout. And you can also order large quantities of liquid detergent and keep refilling the same small plastic container. Yes, we do have lots of local vendors. We do. The options are increasing rapidly. The other thing that I learned recently is that new products are on the horizon that are tiny, ultra-concentrated refills, which will have very low shipping emissions. So you just get a little pouch, pour that into your dish soap, fill it up with water. Like I said, it's just crazy to be shipping all this water. Another huge source of home emissions is heating and cooling. How many of you have a programmable thermostat? Raise your hand or type yes into chat. I just want to get a sense of how many people have a programmable thermostat. Looks like a lot of you. Now, the next question is, how many of you know how to program it? Oh, Carol says, I do, but I can't figure out how to install it. So if you don't know how to program your thermostat, you have my sympathy because I find it challenging. But I just have one word for you, which is YouTube. You can learn how to do almost anything on YouTube. I checked, there are actual videos on YouTube to tell you how to program your programmable thermostat. This will help you reduce your home heating emissions. And try programming down one additional degree and see if you can survive that. Wear a sweater and get up and move more. We are often cold because we are sitting so much of the day, especially because of the pandemic. So get up and walk around more. Another thing that's really important with home heating is proper furnace care. Make sure that your furnace is checked annually and working properly, and check your furnace filter regularly to ensure that it's working at peak efficiency. This is a classic. Every 3 months for the filter, Bradley says. This is a classic. This is an obvious one, but I just wanted to mention it. Reduce air leaks and stop drafts by using caulk, weather stripping, and insulation. Our old house had terribly leaky old windows, so we always put plastic on the windows. I know it's plastic, but until we could afford to replace the windows, it was better than leaking warm air out the windows all the time. There is a ton of great information online about how to detect air leaks in your home, so I encourage you to look into that. And the added benefit, of course, is that when you reduce heat loss, you also cut your energy bill. Be an Energy Star. The Energy Star symbol identifies products that are energy efficient. The more efficient your appliances are, the fewer the emissions. There is a ton of information about Energy Star products online, so check it out. Do your homework before you buy. But keep in mind that buying few items less often is always optimal. The other thing is, be sure to check out your city, federal, and state or provincial websites for information about programs and rebates designed to help you reduce your use of energy. You might be surprised by what you discover. For example, I found out that here in Ontario, Hydro One has a program to help First Nations people with energy efficiency. Many of these programs go unused because people aren't aware of them or don't take time to check them out. So I really encourage you to do some Googling. There are great websites on the federal government, the provincial government, and locally, the city government has a page, so check them out. Solar energy is another option to reduce greenhouse gases. I did a little reading on this, and apparently here in Ontario, because our electricity is so expensive, it can be cost effective, but it's a big investment initially, so it's not within the reach of everyone, but I did want to mention it. So food waste. Here's a question for people to put into chat. How many kilograms of food do you think is wasted per person in Canada each year? Put your guess into chat. Do, 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 do. 20, Margaret says. Oh. Okay, Bradley gets the gold star. So about 400 kilograms of food per person is wasted each year in Canada. Canada is one of the most food wasting countries in the world. Apples rot because there's no one to harvest them. Surplus milk is flushed down the drain. Thousands of hectares of produce are plowed under due to canceled orders. A lot of this we have no control over because it's wasted before we have access to it. It's food lost before it even gets into the stores. But Canadian families are responsible for 21% of avoidable waste. We can make a difference. For example, and this is one of my pet issues here in the Sioux, we can stop letting fruit tree produce rot on the ground and instead donate it to a local food bank. My husband and I walk a lot in the fall, and it makes me sad when I see apples lying on the ground. So why does food waste matter to climate change? Because according to the IPCC, from 2010 to 2016, global food loss and waste caused 8 to 10% of global human-caused greenhouse gas emissions. Adding to the urgency is the fact that in landfills, food waste produces methane, which is a far more powerful greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. So what can we do about food waste? The boring stuff, I know it's boring, planning is boring. This is really important and really effective. How many of you plan your meals each week? You can either raise your hand or you can type yes into the chat box. I want to get a feel for how many people plan their meals. So Planning meals ahead of time is a top way to reduce food waste. Try to plan meals around ingredients you already have that need to be used up. There are apps like Supercook that allow you to find recipes using ingredients you have on hand. How many of you shop with a list? So if you shop with a list and stick to the list, you will waste less food. And try to stay on the perimeter of the store. It's the middle where you get into trouble and buy things you don't really need. And another really great tip, and I think we're probably most of us already doing this because of the pandemic, shop less often. The fewer times you go into a store, the fewer opportunities you have to do impulse buys for things you don't need. This goes for all kinds of shopping, not just food. And this is a do as I say, not as I do thing, because I'm not a planner. I suspect everyone on this call has bought a full bag of raisins to make cookies, used half a cup, then found a mostly full bag of dried out raisins in the back of their cupboard a year later. Bulk food shopping is great because you can buy exactly the amount you need. And here in Sault Ste. Marie, our bulk food store, Bulk Barn, offers curbside pickup. So you don't even have to go in the store. So I'm not going to go into great detail about food storage because I could do a 2-hour presentation on just that, but I do encourage people to explore this online. There is a ton of information out there about food storage. Here's just a few tips. Don't wash most produce until right before using. However, there are some exceptions. Separate fruits and veggies because some fruit like apples emit a gas that causes other produce to go bad faster. Put one apple in with potatoes to prevent sprouting. Apples give off that gas, and that gas prevents sprouting with potatoes. Chop greens off carrots, beets, and turnips as soon as you get them home. I didn't know this. Evidently, those greens continue to draw nutrients out of the roots, so you need to get those greens off as soon as possible. Also, apples stay firm much longer on the fridge. Apples spoil, this was kind of a crazy number, 10 times faster on the counter than they do in the fridge, 10 times. And the final one is store tomatoes upside down on the counter to prevent moisture loss. Like I said, there's a ton of information, many of these food charts online. You can print one for your family and put it on the fridge. So it takes a lot of energy to pump, treat, and heat water. So saving water reduces greenhouse gases. How do you reduce water use? Or what suggestions do you have? You can go ahead and type those in the chat while I take a sip of water. I like what Jim said. Consider growing as much as you can for yourself and family and friends. Avoids reliance on industrialized food production. That's fantastic. Shower less often. That's good for everyone except my husband. Wash basin in the sink. Only wash dishes once a day. Low flow fixtures. Oh, my husband doesn't think I'm funny. Okay, so some suggestions for cutting water loose. One is to get a low flow shower head. Another is, I thought this was a cute suggestion. This photo is from a class. They posted this online. It was some kind of class experiment they did. You can keep a bucket in your shower, let it fill up while you're showering, and then use it to flush the toilet, which I thought was kind of fun. Do not let the water run while shaving or brush your teeth. I have stopped doing that years ago because it's very wasteful. And you need to watch your kids on this one because they can stand there and run the water for a long time. Repair toilet and faucet leaks right away. A leaky toilet can waste 200 gallons of water a day. That was kind of shocking. Run your dish and clothes washers with full loads only. And this is a big one. I cringe when I see people running their sprinklers at noon on a hot day. It's very water wasteful. That's a good point. 21% of freshwater consumption goes towards food that's never consumed. Oh, turn the shower off while soaping and shampooing. Turn it on to rinse. That wouldn't work in my bathroom because it's freezing. Okay. So let's talk about some weirder, wilder ways to reduce waste. For around $800 US, you can get a home biogas system. It converts your organic waste into cooking gas for your home and manure and fertilizer for your garden. This looks so cool. I wanted to buy one immediately. It even has a way to, there's a hose and you can hook it up to this. They provide you with a 2-burner apparatus so you can cook. I mean, it's just fabulous. So if you're interested, check out the home biogas system, because I thought that was pretty neat. The food cycler. So this is something that got pilot tested in Nelson, BC, because they're starting to do something about stopping organic waste going into the landfill. The food cycler is a device that grinds and dehydrates organic material and turns it into a soil amendment. The resulting material can then be added to garden soil or to compost. The reason they wanted to try this is because too many people had concerns about doing backyard composting. Either they didn't have space, or they were worried about the smell or attracting wild animals or rats or something like that. And I know in the zoo, there are a lot of people that don't want to compost because they're worried about rats. So the pilot project that was done showed it was very successful. People were very pleased with the food cycler. It cut food waste going into the landfill, and it reduced concerns about smells and rodents from regular composting. Do we have any worm composters in the crowd? Type yes into the chat box if you have a worm composter. So here in Sault Ste. Marie, we at Clean North sell worm composting kits. Kids love these, and you can reduce food waste year-round, and you produce wonderful compost while once again not having to worry about attracting rats. Yeah, that's more good water advice. Rain barrel, Clean North sells rain barrels, and use dehumidifier water to water plants in the summer. I actually use dehumidifier water in my laundry as well. So in terms of thinking outside the box, if you're on Facebook, you probably have seen some amazing videos and posts about how you can make things out of things that are destined for the landfill. So I thought this was pretty cool. Somebody has made a set of glassware out of bottles. Any way you can reuse things and stop them from going into the landfill is great. A particular area of what I would say is really innovative reuse is plant pots. I have seen people use everything from wheelbarrows to half barrels to old boots to stiletto shoes as planters. There's really some creative stuff going on out there. So if you have an item that you feel like you can't sell or give away and you don't know what to do with it, maybe you can plant something in it. Wastefully gifted. Anyone who has celebrated Christmas or a birthday is aware that celebrations are a source of massive waste. So how do you minimize waste during celebrations? Type some suggestions in the chat. And I'm going to go to the next slide and show you what fabric gift bags, good one. Use bags for gifts and reuse them. Give experiences, not gifts. Cloth bags we use. One thing I started doing a couple years ago, it's called furoshiki wrapping. It's a Japanese tradition involving wrapping gifts in cloth. You can use napkins or bandanas too, but we recommend buying those used at a thrift store rather than buying new. You can also cut up and hem an old tablecloth or a sheet. Stitch gift bags with leftover fabric. Newspaper fabric bag. Ah, fantastic. Re-gift, yes. You can also use natural decorations such as natural twine instead of synthetic ribbon, and items like pine cones or evergreen twigs to decorate your gifts. Re-gifting, I love that. We do a lot of that in my family. So before I get into the nitty, yes, children's artwork, that's another great one. Before I get into the nitty-gritty of curbside recycling, I just want to emphasize that it's not that hard to get rid of items that are no longer useful to you. I very rarely throw something away that somebody else might be able to use. If you go to the Clean North website, we have a great web page listing all the places you can donate items here in the Sioux. Facebook Marketplace and all the local Facebook auction and sales sites are also fantastic. So I have sold piles of rubble, piles of mismatched siding, piles of rocks. I once sold a bag of used socks. So I try never to let something that could be sold or given away go into the trash. Use baskets to give gifts in. I love using baskets in the house to organize things. That's a great idea. Everyone can always use more baskets. So curbside recycling. My tips are specific to Sault Ste. Marie, so if you live in another jurisdiction, take these with a grain of salt. You need to check your city's website. So why is it so important to recycle right? Well, harmful chemicals and greenhouse gases are released from trash in landfills, especially plastic. When we recycle correctly, we help reduce recyclable loads from being deemed overly contaminated and ending up in the landfill. A lot of recyclables end up in the landfill because loads get contaminated. We can also help keep our taxes lower by reducing stress on our recycling facility and prolonging the life of our landfill. These are all good reasons to recycle properly. So anyone in Sault Ste. Marie, if you're a Sault Ste. Marie person, if you want to identify something that's wrong with this bin of recyclables, is there something that's amiss here? Something that needs to be fixed in order for our local facility people to be happy? Very good. Very good. Yes. Caps need to be removed if they are not accepted by our local recycling facility. There may be other jurisdictions that accept them, but ours does not. Yes, thank you for mentioning that, Bradley. Annie King, a local artist, is collecting caps for an art project. I've been collecting caps for her for months. So yes, Sandra, don't buy single-use water bottles at all. Right on. So this group of items that you see on the screen currently, are all these items recyclable? Yes or no? Put your answer into the chat. Recyclable, yes or no? Okay, here's the deal with these. All these items are recyclable. You just need to remove the lid, except for the can. You can even, can lids can go in the recycling. I actually called the recycling facility today and confirmed this because somebody questioned me. He was like, are you sure? And so I called and checked. But the bottle, shampoo bottles, detergent bottles, milk cartons, peanut butter jars, glass jars, they can all be recycled as long as the caps are removed. Yes, it's best to tear the spouts off the milk cartons. If occasional one slips by, it's probably not a problem, but we're trying to keep that contamination level as low as possible. X-Acto knife, exactly. Very quick. Are all these 6 items recyclable? Yes or no? No. Okay. Here's the deal with these. These items are actually recyclable, but they're dirty, so they're not. Dirty paper plates, dirty foil pans, dirty pizza boxes cannot be recycled. But the pizza box, what I would probably do is tear the lid off and recycle that. Filthy Tim Hortons cup you find on the ground, no. So clean items need to be clean. With the paper towel and the paper plate, I might put those in my composter, but the rest of them, nope. Aluminum pan, we'll triple in and take that. So the thing with the aluminum pan is it is recyclable as long as it's clean. So you could rinse it, or you can just put it in the garbage, or you can put it through the dishwasher and reuse it. Are these items recyclable, yes or no? Okay, so here's the deal with these items. Locally, now this is different for other jurisdictions, we only accept #1 and #2 plastic bottles and jars. These two, the yogurt tub and the margarine tub, are not #1 or 2. This clear plastic food clamshell, it's #1, but it's not a bottle or a jar. The problem with these, recyclers don't like them because there's a lot of counterfeit ones. So that are not actually recyclable plastics. They don't accept, we don't accept them here anyway. Yes, the plastic tubs are reusable, absolutely, Carol. The problem with receipts is Receipts are coated in chemicals that pose a risk to human health. And when we put them in the recycling bin, what's happening is these chemicals are now showing up in recycled paper products like toilet paper and Kleenex. So we really should not be putting receipts in the recycling bin. Fortunately, there is strong pressure on companies to get rid of chemical-coated receipts. There is some movement on this, and hopefully this will change. Photos, same thing, they're covered in chemicals, don't recycle them. The birthday card, it's got glitter on it. Folks, we all need to stop using glitter. I am a glitter girl. I love sparkly things, but I have to give up glitter because it is literally microplastics. And unfortunately, the eco glitter is not any better. Yes, Carol, glitter is the herpes of the craft world. My husband would attest to that. The eco glitters, there is evidence. I saw a study out of the UK that showed that eco glitters cause harm in aquatic ecosystems. You can find that online if you Google it. What I would probably do with this card is tear the back off and recycle that. It's also got a couple of plastic jewels glued to it, so it's just a disaster. My husband's going, yay. Are these glass items recyclable? Once again, this is Sault Ste. Marie. We'll see about other jurisdictions. No. So here's the deal. Broken glass is considered hazardous waste. And I can't explain this to you in any way that makes sense, but you're not supposed to put broken glass into your recycle bin, even though some of it gets broken when they come collect it. It's considered hazardous waste. You should wrap it in paper and put it in your regular trash. Picture frame glass and window glass, not recyclable here in the Sioux. Drinking glasses, not recyclable here in the Sioux. Pyrex glassware, not recyclable. Just bottles and jars, and they should be clean. Okay, so you're probably going, well, what the heck can we recycle? Does it seem like we can't recycle much? That's because recycling materials is no longer profitable since Asia closed its doors to our stuff. Our city has to pay for recyclables to be shipped to Southern Ontario or Michigan, and that is expensive. They're not making money off recyclables. So we need to focus on preventing waste. Recycling is a failed strategy in terms of waste management. Tin can lids are okay. I called and found that out today. Tin can lids are okay. And Janet, I feel you on getting other people to comply. People think that it's okay to break the rules and put whatever in the recycling bin, and it's not. It causes recycling centers lots of problems. So I encourage you, everyone, to keep learning about waste reduction. The Clean North website has several excellent pages on green shopping, curbside recycling, where to donate your stuff, composting, and more. And you can follow us on social media as well. I also really encourage you to join the Zero Waste Sioux group and other waste reduction groups on Facebook. There are many. There's probably one for every jurisdiction. In these groups, you will find tons of great discussions and learn lots. I want to emphasize how important it is to not make assumptions about what's green and what's not. Sustainability is complicated. So I put this graphic together the other day. It's kind of a summary of my exploration of how green various shopping bag options are. And once again, it's complicated. So single-use plastic bags are being banned across Canada this year. Yay! But guess what? In the short run, they're more green than paper bags, and they have a high rate of reuse. We reuse them to line garbage bags, to put wet pet waste in. There's all different things that we use these for. Resale shops use them. The problem with replacing them with paper bags is that paper bags are very heavy, and so they're very expensive to ship. There's way more emissions involved in shipping them, and making them requires a lot of toxic chemicals. So paper bags are better in the long run because they're compostable. Once they're made, there's no environmental threat. The problem with plastic bags is once they're made, they're an environmental threat for hundreds of years. But personally, I prefer paper, even though there's issues at the front end. People think, oh, cotton's better. Well, the problem with cotton is it's heavy, and so it's expensive to ship. In addition, cotton is very land and water intensive to produce, and it takes a lot of pesticides. And organic cotton takes even more land and water to produce. So I can go down the line, and there's all these trade-offs with shopping bags. Yes, Helping Hands on Gore Street. We brought them some plastic. I didn't actually check bamboo, Carol. That's a good question. And hemp would be another. I'd be curious to know about hemp as well. But here's my conclusion after doing this homework. Here's my conclusion about bags. Don't buy any. Your best bet is to never buy bags again. Find all those reusable bags in your household, whatever they're made of, and use them till they fall apart. I believe that there is probably 20 bags in every household. So if you need more, ask a friend. I'm sure most people have more than they need. You've got those soft, non-woven polypropylene ones, the ones that Walmart sells, and the ones that Dollarama sells. You can use those as mask liners. They're very effective mask filters. So with bags, just don't buy any. Just say no. So my final thought today, last month I had the privilege of attending the Kingston Climate Symposium. And the keynote speaker was Severn Cullis-Suzuki, who Canadians recognize as the Greta Thunberg of the 1990s. She spoke to the climate summit in Rio at the age of 13 or something like that. And what she said last month about, she was drawing comparisons between the climate crisis and COVID. And she said, COVID has taught us that we have agency. Each of our actions matter. My own actions could result in someone losing their life. Even a year ago, this would have sounded like hysterical lunacy. But now we know this is true. We cannot deny that we are powerful. So if you still don't think that one person can make a difference, I'm going to show you 4 slides and say nothing, because I don't think words are needed. So start talking to your friends, your family, and your neighbors about climate change. Contact elected leaders, demand that they act. They do listen. If enough people press them, they will act. And speak out at public forums whenever you have the opportunity. So this concludes my presentation today. I encourage you to, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat. And I also encourage you to email both Sioux Climate Hub and Clean North to get on email distribution lists, to get newsletters, seminar notices, and we welcome volunteers and donors at any time. Thank you, everyone. And if you've got questions, launch.
Yahoo, Abby, that was so helpful and so informative. And thank you for all your work and the beautiful simplicity with which you went through a lot of complex material. And I think you have also illuminated again how we in the Sioux are hitting the ground running. We are already acting, and each of us is following a specific path to mitigating, to confronting climate change. And it's us joining arms with one another that will overcome. And I thank you for demonstrating that. And you know, the last 4 slides showing how unity has a big voice. And all the slides before showing that what feels like a drop in the bucket translates into huge impact when we all do it together. So I really thank you, and again, invite everyone present to add any questions or whatever you need. And to reiterate what Abby has said, please join us online, shoot over an email, join us in person, when we can. In terms of,
So one thing I wanted to say about the last 4 slides was when I didn't put those in till late this afternoon, and when I put them in, I said, I can't speak during these because I'll start crying.
oh, God.
What
You and
Greta,
both.
Greta is my hero. I mean, she is my hero. She's a tiny little girl in Sweden, and she's my absolute hero. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've attended a few webinars that feature the youth voice. I'm blown out of my chair when I hear how powerful and committed that voice is. It's so uplifting, truly. I also want to remind people that on March 24th, we will have session 3 of this series, and this is going to be, I don't have my notes in front of me, I apologize. It's going to be a speaker, Lauren, darn, Sandra, you know, Lauren Wills of RAIN, Rural Agricultural Innovation Network, is going to speak to us. And I think that will, again, be so exciting to hear how the relationship between food and climate change is and what we can do in our own backyards. So thank you for being with us, everyone.
thank you.
Any...
And you can find me through Clean North. If you have any questions or you want to talk about waste reduction in Sault Ste. Marie, you can always find me through Clean North, or you can find me in the Zero Waste group in Facebook.
Some really good chat items too. Lauren Moran, thank you. I'm so sorry to do that. Thank you. Agriculture and climate change. Yes, that's the name of the program. It was on my last slide and I don't have it in front of me. Sorry.
Okay, well, I think we're done. Just getting lots of thank yous, which are greatly appreciated. Good luck, everybody, in your waste reduction endeavors, and keep up the good fight.
Perfect.